can
Sure.
jump in here, the fact that you're talking about big tech, I think, is very interesting in this because you also mentioned that one of the features of regulation is that we can use algorithms now.
That's
Yet
right.
we've seen them use algorithms to limit people's freedom of speech and to do all these other nefarious things. So if we give the government that power, especially as the Federal Reserve is looking toward creating a digital currency potentially, and we already have banks being thrust upon them to enforce ESG scores. And in China, we see where those ESG scores suddenly become personal scores on individuals. It's not a far step technologically, and in the way we see some of the agencies working right now to begin to target those algorithms toward
Right.
people and their personal habits and their spending. So, how do we compete economically on the world stage without threatening the privacy rights of Americans
I
going forward? Because this is a very dangerous slope if not handled correctly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm deeply concerned by social credit, deeply concerned by some of the proposals for CBDCs, because you can have transactional discrimination against any ethnic group you want or any political philosophy you want. So the point is, the algorithms ought to be built out in an open source process, transparent and available to all, and people have to have the ability to opt in instead of opt out. So the power of our industry is we didn't have a government agency or some central actor say, "Oh, here's cryptocurrencies." It was the tireless work of millions of people, many of which never met each other, around the world, coming together voluntarily and building a new economy worth trillions of dollars. That's the way we ought to think about it, not how do we create some government agency or how do we create some central bank or central algorithm that'll control everything. And then you ask yourself about the outcomes you desire. So it's clear that there's been some problems over the last 13 years, and we're working our way through that. But at the same time, we have created value for millions of people, and we shouldn't lose that sight.
We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, please like and subscribe if you do like what you're listening to. Please inform your friends and family and spread all over social media. It is imperative that we get back to learning finances and understand how the world really works. Because once we understand how the world really works, we understand that it is all planned out. Now, I want to thank those who purchased the books, Crypto Teacher and the New World Order book. The New World Order book is going to show you how the world works. It is definitely time to wake up out of your sleep in the times that we're in right now. Plus, guys, we know we're waiting on that next main event towards the end of the year. We had the first quarter event. Like I told you, that would happen. Don't forget this is Shemitah year. And then also, I want to thank those who purchased the 3 Kids books. It's definitely time to re-educate. And also, those who donate to the Cash App, Patreon, much love, keep it coming. Do not forget I have the New World Order cryptos in my Patreon. Do your own research, but going inside of a bear market, you definitely want the cryptos that have real use cases. And much love to those who are shopping at both stores, keep it coming. And of course, guys, we get into Bitcoin and cryptos first. And right now, Bitcoin and cryptos are slightly moving back. We have absolutely no volume, so that means that we're going to stay flat for right now. CME opened Sunday night, and I definitely see a pullback just because of looking at yields and looking at the actual repo. So I see a pullback Sunday night and then another pullback when the stock market opens. Now we have ProShares shorting Bitcoin becomes the second largest Bitcoin focused ETF listed in the US. But guys, it was different if they had launched this when Bitcoin was at 64,000, but at 21,000, Bitcoin doesn't have a lot to move down. We know there is a lot of institutional money inside of Bitcoin. Now, guys, do not forget to pay attention to the actual indicators. We have yield rates, we have volume, we have Tether, we have USDC. And then, of course, we have the Fed, the repo, they pulled back a little. Now we have the BIS says that CBDCs, not crypto, will be the cornerstone of the future monetary system. And guys, we know they're exactly right. This is definitely a true statement. We know the central banks are going to stay in control, and even that private stablecoin, they still will control. We know USDC right now is definitely the chosen one. Do not forget what Brian Brooks and Jeremy stated, that they were working on the United States global stablecoin. Now, we know the central banks are raising rates and starting to roll off this balance sheet. We know it's going to cause mass layoffs in order to bring in this new digital economy. But for right now, these next couple months, we're going to have some relief just because we know midterms is here. We know how it goes. And then they're going to push this Hegelian dialectic at the end of the fourth quarter, going into the first quarter. Remember what I stated. If we do not get a unlimited debt ceiling, the government will shut down next year. How much time is going to shut down? I don't know. But they're definitely going to shut it down. Over the next 2 years, the United States economy is going to get worse and worse. Remember, the NWO caused the problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. And we know that solution is a free money. And when you bring the people to their knees, they're going to beg for this free money. We saw this when it came to the stimulus checks. And look what happened. They raised inflation, took away all that stimulus money, took away all those raises and those wages with an imaginary tax. It's unbelievable what the people fall for, but we know the masses don't understand finances. And we know the devil is always in the details. And then we have Grayscale, picked up a little. About 500 million. Make sure you're paying attention to the actual allocations. And then plus, guys, we are days away from the SEC decision for that spot Bitcoin ETF. And we know it's going to move us either way. If they say yes, we're going to get a slight pump. If they say no, we know we're going to pull back slightly. So it's definitely going to move the market. But let's get over to a little crypto news. We have Goldman Sachs may raise $2 billion to buy Celsius network assets. But guys, we know the big banks and big corporations have been here from the beginning. Microsoft has been here from the beginning. This is the blueprint from big tech. By the Fed shrinking liquidity, these companies are going to have to run to the banks or the big corporations. And we know how it starts. They get a piece first, and then they end up swallowing up the whole company. Crypto, just like everything else, is going to end up in a small few hands. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now we have Binance CZ says bad crypto projects should not be bailed out. And guys, we have over 20,000 cryptos. Over the next year and a half, with all this free money shrinking up, we're only going to end up with about 1,000. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now, you heard Cardano's Charles Hoskinson at the beginning of this video. Guys, we know that algorithms are not just going to change the way we live, but they're going to replace politicians. But we know algorithms can be manipulated. On all these social media platforms, dealing with YouTube myself, I see how the algorithm can control what you see and what you don't see. In my Patreon, I put a must-watch video. Please go watch that video if you're part of my Patreon. But we understand how we are creating these algorithms, this artificial intelligence, the robots, the drones, which can be used for good or evil. But you ask yourself, who's in charge of this technology? Evil hands or good hands? And guys, we know it's the evil hands. That's the point. They want to take humanity out the workforce in order to give them all the power. And the sheep are going to fall for it because they're going to have that carrot dangling. Free money airdrop. But we know there's no such thing as free when it comes to the NWO. And lastly, we have almost 4 billion Bitcoin miner loans coming under stress. And guys, anytime you're shrinking liquidity, you're going to have what? Consolidation. Only a few hands are going to own everything. And remember, the crypto teacher told you because he knows. When it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. But guys, all I have for you, don't forget about the books, Crypto Teacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, if you're new to cryptos, Coinbase, BitChute, Binance, and not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The Crypto Teacher Stock Channel, Crypto Teacher Stocks. So you have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the C-Word, the biotech stocks, and while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money. What they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day.
I've always viewed them like financial stem cells. They're kind of more fundamental than a particular category like a currency or a commodity. And really, it depends on the markets they're traded on and the use and utility that they have. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what public policy considerations are you attempting to satisfy? Is it sanctions compliance? Is it consumer protection? Is it market stability? What we do as an industry is we're all about transparency. So it's kind of funny we're talking and debating about disclosure regimes. There's no other financial asset in the world that really is as transparent as a cryptocurrency. Every transaction from the very beginning for Bitcoin, for example, from January 3rd, 2009 is known. Every single one. The holdings of the founder are known because all of these things are publicly available to everybody. So it's more about, in my view, understandability and the tooling required to make this work on a global basis. So I don't think it would be wise to say, well, is it a security or a commodity, or fall into this temptation of who's the more permissive regulator or what is the regulatory arbitrage, but rather just take a step back and say, what things do we want to guard against? And we now have 13 years of history as an industry of, I think, 6 or 7 collapses, a whole bunch of interesting new things like NFTs that have always pushed the limit, and a global marketplace with more than 100 million people floating around that we can draw from, and we can look on a case-by-case basis and build a framework that makes sense.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.